Breaking news from around your world on this Wednesday, March 6th, 2019. I'm Larry Rice. North Korea has started rebuilding a key rocket site it partially dismantled last year after Kim Jong-un's first summit with President Donald Trump in Singapore. Analysts said in reports published Tuesday that the North Korean leader offered to destroy the facility, the Sohae satellite launching station, when he met with South Korean President Moon Jae-in in September. But satellite photos reportedly showing recent rapid rebuilding came days after the early collapse of the second summit between Kim and Trump in Hanoi, Vietnam last week. Beyond Parallel, a commercial satellite imagery company sponsored by the Center for Strategic and International Studies, identified 20 undisclosed missile sites in North Korea. Their experts said work at the site, which is used to test technology for Pyongyang's intercontinental ballistic missile program, could indicate North Korea is preparing to end its moratorium on missile tests. More than 76,000 migrants crossed the border from Mexico into the United States without authorization in February, more than twice the level in the same period last year, according to an announcement Tuesday from Customs and Border Protection. For the fourth time in 5 months, the number of migrant families crossing the southwest border set a record. Kevin McAleenan, CBP commissioner, told reporters, "The system is well beyond capacity and remains at the breaking point." The number of migrant families crossing illegally has risen as new restrictions imposed by the Trump administration drove them away from main ports of entry. Officials said more than 90% of the latest arrivals came from Guatemala. Senator Martha McSally, the first female fighter pilot to fly in combat, said Wednesday that she was raped in the Air Force by a superior officer. The Arizona Republican, a 26-year military veteran, made the disclosure at a Senate hearing on the armed services efforts to prevent sexual assaults and improve the response when they occur. McSally said she did not report being sexually assaulted because she did not trust the system, and she said she was ashamed and confused. McSally did not name the officer whom she says raped her. McSally's revelation comes not long after Senator Joni Ernst, an Iowa Republican, detailed her own abuse and assault, and at a time of increased awareness over the problem of harassment and assault in the armed forces. McSally says she shares in the disgust of the failures of the military system and many commanders who have failed to address the problems of sexual misconduct. She said the public must demand that higher-ranking officials be part of the solution. Reports of sexual assaults across the military jumped nearly 10% in 2017. Following the news of a man in the UK who has been free of HIV since his cancer treatment, a similar case has been reported by researchers who treated a patient in Germany. Together, they add to evidence that it may be possible to cure HIV, the AIDS virus. This possible third case was announced at the Conference on Retroviruses and Opportunistic Infections in Seattle. Annemarie Wensing of University Medical Center in Utrecht in the Netherlands, who worked on this case, said biopsies from the gut and lymph nodes of this Dusseldorf patient show no infectious HIV after 3 months off of antiviral drugs, just like the Berlin and London patients. Bone marrow transplants cannot be used for people with HIV who don't have cancer because they carry considerable risks and are only used as a last resort. But the fact that the approach seems to work could point the way to other strategies for a cure. The U.S. trade deficit surged to a 10-year high in 2018, despite the Trump administration slapping tariffs on a range of imported goods in an effort to shrink the gap. The Commerce Department said on Wednesday that an 18.8% jump in the trade deficit in December had contributed to the $621 billion shortfall last year. The 2018 deficit was the largest since 2008 and followed a $552.3 billion gap in 2017. The trade deficit has deteriorated despite the White House's protectionist trade policy, which President Trump said is needed to shield U.S. manufacturers from what he says is unfair foreign competition. The U.S. last year imposed tariffs on $250 billion worth of goods imported from China, with Beijing hitting back with duties on $110 billion worth of American products, including soybeans and other commodities. Trump has delayed tariffs on $200 billion worth of Chinese imports as negotiations to resolve the 8-month trade war continue. The goods trade deficit with China increased 11.6% to an all-time high of $419.2 billion in 2018. The U.S. had record imports from 60 countries in 2018, led by China, Mexico, and Germany. Import of goods hit a record $2.6 trillion last year. Israel's Central Elections Committee on Wednesday paved the way for a Jewish ultranationalist party to participate in April's parliamentary vote, narrowly rejecting an attempt to disqualify its leaders on the grounds that they incite racism against Arabs. The committee voted 16-15 against motions to disqualify Jewish Power Party leaders Michael Ben-Ari and Itamar Ben-Gvir. Jewish power leaders are successors of the late Rabbi Meir Kahane, who advocated the forced removal of Palestinians and a Jewish theocracy. Kahane's Koch party was banned from the Israeli parliament in the 1980s, and the U.S. classified Kahane's Jewish Defense League a terrorist group. In 2012, the U.S. refused to give Ben-Ari an entrance visa, saying he was involved in a terror organization. Israeli Prime Minister Benjamin Netanyahu struck an election deal last month that would ensure members of Jewish Power a parliamentary seat in an effort to unite Israel's hardline nationalist and religious bloc ahead of the elections. Former New York City Mayor Michael Bloomberg has decided not to run for the Democratic presidential nomination. In the announcement in a Bloomberg News column, the billionaire publisher said instead of challenging President Trump in 2020, he plans to focus on supporting renewable energy and backing opposition to Trump. Bloomberg wrote, "It's essential that we nominate a Democrat who will be in the strongest position to defeat Donald Trump and bring our country back together." He said he believes he would defeat Donald Trump in a general election, but was clear-eyed about the difficulty of winning the Democratic nomination in such a crowded field. Hillary Clinton, the party's 2016 nominee, also confirmed this week she will not be a candidate in 2020. Democrats unveiled legislation Wednesday to reinstitute net neutrality rules that were scrapped in 2017 by the Trump administration. The Save the Internet Act would bring back rules that prevent Internet providers from slowing down or blocking traffic from certain websites or offering so-called paid fast lanes. Providers like Comcast, AT&T, and Verizon had pushed for the repeal of the rule. Tech giants like Facebook, Amazon, and Google have lobbied for the rule's reinstatement. In December 2017, the Federal Communications Commission repealed the rule in a party-line decision 3-2. Since then, Internet providers say they have not introduced a single policy that would change Americans' Internet access. Were the bill to pass both chambers, President Trump could veto it. Democrats appear undeterred by that possibility. Hearings on the net neutrality legislation will begin next week in the House Energy and Commerce Committee. A teen from Ohio who defied his mother and started getting vaccinated when he turned 18 told Congress it is important to counter anti-vaccine misinformation spread via social media. The teen, Ethan Lindenberger, told a Senate Health Committee, "I grew up under my mother's beliefs that vaccines are dangerous." He said he tried to get his mother to consult scientific studies about the benefits of vaccines, but she focused on bogus reports that instill fear into the public. Lindenberger said his mother clearly loves and cares about him and his siblings, but her belief in anti-vaccine conspiracy theories caused her to leave them vulnerable to preventable diseases. And that's your update for this Wednesday, March 6th, 2019. I'm Larry Rice. Thanks so much for listening, and I hope you have a wonderful day.